Hi guys, my name's Shaun, I'm from Square One Physiotherapy in Mosman. I'm here with my colleague Susan and we're here to take you through a full body workout. So what we're going to start off by doing is the first part is going to be focused on really activating the certain muscles that we want to take through in the main set. We're going to do some mobility work to start off with, and then we're going to get going with the main set, and that's going to include 5 different exercises. We're going to do 8 repetitions of each of those exercises, and we're going to simply repeat those 3 times through. And then we're going to just finish off with a cool down, and that's an opportunity just to stretch the muscles whilst they're warm and just slow down our heart rate and our breathing as well. So we're going to start by just diving into the mobility side, stroke activating the correct muscles to start off with. So first of all, we're going to start in a 4-point kneeling position. So Susan's going to take herself down just on her hands and knees as she's doing it. And we're going to go through what we call a cat-camel motion. So we're going to just keep the toes on the ground as they are here. Susan's just going to come up, great stuff, and then just simply dropping through her low back as well as she's doing it. And really the key thing is that we're focusing on mobility through the spine, okay? So mobility up through the thoracic spine or the upper back, and then coming down into the low back as well there. And we're simply going to work through 6 repetitions, 6 slow, good quality repetitions of each of these exercises as we do it as well. Good job. Yeah. So we're going to keep going, okay? And then now we're just going to go from that position into a child's pose. So we're going to drop down, that's great, okay? And from here, what Susan's now going to do is reach across with her left arm underneath her right side. So we're going to go into a thread in the needle. So we focused on extension through the trunk first of all, and now we're focusing on rotation. Now, the good thing about this exercise as well is, so we're going to go with just 3 repetitions each side, hold it for 5 seconds. The great thing about this exercise is that actually you lock in the low back, and most of that movement comes up through the upper back there as well. So again, if we're finding that we're stiff, we've been spending long periods sitting at our computer, this is a great exercise really just to loosen up through that upper back as well, coupled with what we previously did with the cat-camel. Now we're going to change sides. Again, dropping back, Susan's doing it really well, dropping back onto the heels, and then also rotating through the trunk as well, trying to reach as far as she can with that right arm as she does it there as well. Good. And notice with the resting arm at the top there, Susan's keeping it quite straight there, okay? She's not bending the elbow, she's having really good form as she produces the movement there as well. Great, okay, so take your time with it. Again, if you need to spend a bit longer doing this exercise, by all means do so. So we're now going to come up into a plank position. So Susan's going to come up onto her feet, that's fine, keeping the elbow straight there, good. Okay, we're going to start in that plank position, dropping the hips down a little bit more, good, keeping the elbow straight, knee straight rather.
All right.
That's it. And then from there we're going to go into a downward dog. So Susan's going to now flip the hips up, good, push through the arms, head down, thoracic spine engaged, and perfect. And now she's going to pump the calf muscles as well. Okay, so we're going to stretch out through the calves. Just going to spend sort of 5-6 seconds working through, and then we're going to go back down into that plank position as well. So we're going to hold that plank position there. We're going to keep it there because that's going to start to prime the upper body as well, engaging the core muscles. And then we're coming through into that downward dog position as well, extending through the thoracic spine. So this is where our cat-camel comes into play quite nicely, punching through those legs. Again, taking your time. This is really activating, warming up the upper body. We want to make sure we hold it there for a period, okay? We're going to come back down, and we're going to repeat that 1 time through. Susan's just going to hold that plank position. She's going to keep herself there. Again, working through the arms, working through the trunk, and then coming back up into that position there, again just punching through the legs there as well. Okay, so we've worked in the core, we've worked the upper body, we started to warm the system up now. We're now going to, from that position, come back into the plank, come down, and Susan's going to lie on her back now. Okay, so we're going to do one more exercise to work the posterior chain, and that's going to be working our single leg glute bridge. So Susan is going to lock in one leg, that's it, she's going to hold that position there, and now she's going to drive up with the hips there as well. So again, key thing, we're doing 6 repetitions each side because it's part of the warm-up. Susan's not overarching through the low back, and she's also just working through the glutes there. Now, holding the leg just locks in the lumbar spine. It prevents you from actually arching through the low back because you've locked the hip in there. Notice that Susan's then just pivoting on her shoulders as she does the movement. And for you guys at home, this is where using a mat or something is going to be quite important, because it's going to be just placing less strain through the shoulders as well. So we're going to do the same thing, just coming up, good, and back down. And again, the same thing there as well. At this point, it's not about how quickly you're doing the repetitions, it's about the quality of the movements that we're doing there as well, making sure that we're keeping the correct form, keeping our hold as well as we're doing it there. So that's great now. So now what we're going to do is take that into a dead bug position. So I'm going to ask Susan to probably shift down the mat a little bit there, and she's going to start with the legs raised. Now with her, that's it, with the left hand, we're going to place that, Susan's going to place that on her right knee, and she's going to push into her left hand with her right knee. So she's just probably going to change the hand hold just a tad, and she's going to be pushing up with the knee whilst pushing down with the hand. And now she's going to be with her right hand up in the air. She's going to be extending through the left leg and the right arm as well. So by pushing, and we're going to go with 6 reps on this side. So by pushing down with the other side, she's actually creating or activating her oblique muscles and also her core as well as she does it. So it's a really good way, and again, because of the knee position, we're actually just maintaining the lumbar or the low back in extension as well. Quite often, if we're weaker through the core, we'll have a tendency just to arch and lose it through the pelvis. The pelvis tilts forwards, and it can just start to place a little bit too much stress through the low back. So now Susan's changed sides, and as you can see there, she's pushing up with the right hand, she's pushing down with the right knee, she's creating that activation on her oblique sling, and then she's just taking the arm and leg away as she does that movement pattern as well, okay? So again, you may want to spend a bit longer doing this exercise at home. It may be something that you actually want to build into a routine yourself as well there. Great stuff. So we've worked through the front muscles, so the anterior chain, we've worked through the back of the legs, the back of the hip. The last thing we're going to do to warm up is just start to activate the hips a little bit. So Susan's going to come up into a half kneeling position again, and we're going to now focus on some mobility through the thoracic spine, but also some rotation as well. So what Susan's going to do is start in this position. She's going to keep the toes on the ground, so that switches on the back glutes, and now she's going to raise that left arm while shifting just a tad forward through the left hip as well, and just starting to stretch out through the left hip. We're going to do that 3 times, just holding it at the top of the range there. Okay, just really starting to feel that stretch. Again, if you want to spend a bit longer doing it, by all means do so. Okay, and then now on the 4th one, we're going to stay in that position. On the 4th one, we're going to go up and then across the body. Good, and now focus on that rotation. Okay, so now we're not only stabilising through the hips, but we're also asking the upper back to move as well there. So coming up, good, down, rotating. We're going to hold that for 3 seconds as we do that movement pattern, and then come back in, okay? Good. Good. And now once we've done our 3 repetitions, we're going to repeat the same process on the other side as well, okay? So again, finding that split or half kneeling position there. Good, up, feeling the stretch. Okay, getting comfortable with that position, coming back down. Again, lengthening through the spine, extending through the spine, as well as extending through the hip or loosening through the hip flexors at the front there as well. And then once we've done our 3 repetitions there, we can then start to build into a rotational movement as well, and again bringing in the thoracic spine. But notice as well that when Susan's doing this movement, she's actually really good at keeping the hips facing forwards. What we don't want is to start to shift the hips to follow the upper back as it moves. It should be moving, the upper back should be moving, but the hips should remain stable as well. If we're starting to shift the hips a lot, it just shows that we're probably lacking some control and stability around the hip muscles themselves, around the hips themselves. So that's great stuff, guys. Okay, so we've now gone through our warm-up or activation routine. We're now going to simply dive into the main set, okay? So the first exercise that we're going to be working on is doing our mountain climber, okay? So we're just going to be in this position, okay? And we're going to start off with just working through and just going 1, 2, okay? And that's going to just be 1 cycle through. We're going to repeat that 8 times through, okay? Second exercise that we're going to do is we're going to come up and we're going to go into a reverse lunge as well. So we're just going to simply start with just coming back and coming forwards, okay? So just reverse lunging, coming back and forwards as we're doing it there. We're then going to go, and we're going to do 8 repetitions each side. We're then going to work on a single leg RDL. So essentially we're going to just be reaching down and coming back up as we do it, okay? Key thing is that we keep the back leg pipe straight, we keep the hips facing forwards, and we keep the spine long as well as we're doing the movement. We're going to do 8 reps each side as we do that. Okay, the fourth exercise is going to be a variation of a Turkish get-up, okay? So we're going to be in this position first of all, and we're taking the arm out to the side, and we're just simply working on just coming through, and then we're going to do some progressions of that. We're going to do 8 reps each side as we do it, okay? And then we're going to, final is going to be just working on a rotational crunch movement, and we'll talk through some variations of that as well, okay? So we're going to get going. We're going to do 3 cycles through of the set itself. So first one is going to be working on mountain climber movements, okay? So coming through, so 1, 2, okay? So that's considered 1 repetition. We're going to do 8 in total, okay? Good. So key thing is that with Susan, she's keeping her back really quite straight there. She's taking some load through the upper body as she's doing the movement pattern. And she's keeping her core muscles really engaged, her scapula, shoulder blades flush against the chest wall, and she's not dropping through the low back at all as she does the movement pattern. Good job. So now we're going to go into our reverse lunge, okay? So again, we're going to be starting here, we're going to stay on the same leg, we're going to do 8 repetitions each side, we're going to punch the arms as well as we do it. That's it, good. Coming back through. Stepping into it, perfect, okay? So again, when we're doing this, we have to keep that trunk straight, okay? We're flexing a tad through the hips there, just to keep the body weight slightly over the front leg, and we're really punching that arm forwards as well, okay? So imagine again that we're a sprinter, and we're just ready to get off the blocks, okay? Again, notice with Susan, she's really good at keeping her hips in alignment. She's her knees going over her toe as well, it's not collapsing inwards, which again may give the indication that we've got some issues with sort of hip stability, and she's just working through there as well, okay?
Yep.
Good. So now we're going to go into our single leg RDL, okay? So I'd drop back a little bit there, Susan. That's a great stuff. Okay, so now we're going to just work on going down. So Susan's going to drop through, good, okay, and then come back up, okay? So this is a really good exercise for glute, hamstring strength there, okay? But also primarily focuses on stability as well. So it's a good way of just improving the stability through the hips as well. Now Susan's obviously doing it on a foam pad as well, which is making it even harder for her. The key things when you're doing this is that you want to make sure, as Susan's doing there, that back leg is piped straight, there's not a bend in the knee at all. You're engaging that back glute as well, and you're counteracting that as you bend forwards, keeping the trunk engaged as well. And Susan there is also keeping her spine very, very long. You know, she's not arching, she's not curving, she's keeping her back really quite straight there. Okay, so next, see how Susan goes there. We may just take the mat away and just giving her a bit more of a stable surface to work off there as well. But she's doing quite well on this side. You can see that she's had a previous knee injury before in the past, because again she just doesn't appear as strong and stable through that right side. Now, great stuff, okay? So now we're going to go into our Turkish get. Susan's now going to just push up onto her right elbow and then drive up onto our hand as well there. Good, and back down, okay? So up again, so again onto the, and then up, good, and back down. So really good exercise now to work the trunk and the stomach muscles, good, but also start to extend through the hip as we're doing the movement pattern there as well. And we're just going to work through our 8 repetitions each side as we're doing the movement. Good. So, starting to work through the shoulder strength as well as we're doing the movement pattern as well there, good. And coming back down, okay? And then we're now going to do the same on the other side. So, left leg extended there, okay? And then we're going to come up, good. And back down, okay? Engaging the core muscles as we're doing the movement pattern and coming up and through there as well, okay? And great stuff. And coming through, good. Good, excellent stuff. Okay, so now we're going to go into our rotational crunch. Okay, so Susan's going to bring the legs up, and this is much more focused on the core there. That's great. Okay, so legs in this position. Susan's going to keep the knees up in that position there, and we're just going to work on just 8 repetitions in total. So just coming through, good. And we'll just go with that's it. So 4 on each side as we're doing the movement pattern there as well. So again, this is working really our rotational sling, so it's working through our abs, okay? And we're trying to keep the legs straight there. Great stuff, Susan. So we're now going to go back onto our first exercise, which is working on our mountain climber, but we're going to add a slight push-up into this as well, okay? So we're going to go with a push-up into the mountain climber arms, and we're going to just work through, again, 8 repetitions of doing this. Great stuff, okay? Coming through. Perfect, all right, and then just working down, again coming back up and then coming through again. So key thing again is then just keeping the core muscles engaged as we're doing the movement pattern, yeah, and simply just coming up through the legs as well. So really focusing on the upper body as we do the movements there as well. Great, keeping the hips switched on, okay, not allowing the low back to sag and drop down as we're doing the movements there as well, okay. So again, the good thing about when Susan's doing this is actually she has the full range of motion through the shoulders, so we know the exercise is the right level for her there as well, okay? So now we're going to go into this, back into our reverse lunge again, okay? But now we're also just going to add a bit of a tempo as we're doing this movement. So we're going to be reverse lunging, holding for 3 seconds, and then coming back, good, coming down, 3-second hold, good, and then coming back and through as we're doing the movement, yeah? Again, making sure that the knee is going over the toe on that left leg as we do the movement pattern, and then simply coming back, good, and then coming forwards. Again, trying to keep the body just facing forwards a little bit more, flexing through the trunk as we're doing it, okay? And again, just toes pointing down on that back leg, really engaging that back glute, squeezing and driving through that back glute as we're doing the movement pattern as well there. Good, same thing. So again, really just working on flexing forwards, punching through with those arms as well. Okay, holding it for 3 seconds as we're doing the movement, and then coming back in and back down. Great stuff. Okay. Good. Great stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do now is with our RDL, we're going to just show you a slight variation of what you can do. Now, if you've got either a foam roller at home, if you've got, you could use this on the side of a bench, whatever the case may be, we're now going to just work on just having a bit more support and stability as we're doing the RDL, okay? So I'm going to hand this over to Susan there, and it just gives her a little bit more control as she's doing the movement pattern. She's keeping that back leg still straight there, good, and then coming up and back down. So this is great if, again, you might find on one leg in particular you're lacking some stability and control, and you just need that little bit extra support. So again, just notice with Susan, she's keeping that back leg straight, she's keeping the spine really lengthened and engaged as she's doing it as well, and she's just not dropping through or arching through the low back. She's keeping her spine as long as she can, and she's got a slight bend in the knee, which is what we want because that's just going to load the hamstrings up that little bit more, and she's also just engaging the glutes there as well as she does the movement pattern as well. So again, just having something here just to offer you that bit more support as you do the movement. Yeah, and we're going to do the same on the other side there as well. So same thing, just coming down, good, and then coming back up as well there. Good, keeping the back leg straight, slight bend in the knee as Susan's doing it there. Keeping the low back and the upper back fully extended as well. Susan's not putting too much weight through that side, it's just simply there just to offer her that little bit more support as she's doing the movement pattern as well. And again, if you wanted to make this more difficult, you could simply just add a longer hold as you're doing the movement, or you could simply use a kettlebell as well, or a weight just to counteract the balance there. Great stuff. So we're going to go through the next variation of the Turkish get-up. So similar to what we did last time, but this time we're going to have just the arm to the side, okay? And then from there we're going to come up into that position and then just extending through the hips. So we're now trying to bring in some hip extension as well, okay? So we're there, coming up, and extending through the hips there. That's great, okay? And we're going to work through 8 repetitions on each side, okay? So there you're coming up onto the arm there, so you're engaging the shoulder, and now you're also just extending through the hips, working the glutes, working the hip extension as well. So this exercise itself is a great way of just bringing multiple different body parts into the movement pattern, taking yourself through a full body workout as you're doing it. So you're working on the hip extension on the left side, but then also, as I said, the shoulder stability as well when we're doing the movement pattern as well there. And also then you're working through the abdominals as you come up and simply come back down through it there as well. So we're going to change sides now as well, and then similar things, so coming up, good, coming up through there, great stuff, okay? When we're doing this as well, let's try and keep that back as straight as we can when we come up. Good, so we're not rotating and twisting through the trunk as we're doing the movement pattern. Okay, and again we could just make that a little bit harder if we wanted to by adding a 3-second hold as well, which we may do next round, okay? And coming back through. Okay, good job.
That's it.
Good job. So now last one we're going to go into is our crunch, so our rotational crunch, and again we're just going to work through a cycle of 8 repetitions in total, coming through as we do the movement pattern there as well, okay? And so again with this, so with the knees it locks in the low back, it keeps the spine flat on the ground, and then we're just simply twisting and turning through the upper body as we do the movement pattern there as well. Yeah, good job, okay? So guys, we're going to take on some water now as well, and then we'll get going with the next round through, and then we'll finish with the stretches as well, okay? So last cycle through now is we're going to just still focus on doing the mountain climbers. So again, we're going to be just in this position, just working through a push-up variation, coming 1, 2 into this movement pattern here. Okay, the next one is going to be our lunge tempo. Okay, so now we're going to just continue doing that 3-second hold, so coming through, holding for 3, 2, 1, coming forwards. Okay, working with 8 repetitions each side. We're then going to go on to doing our single leg RDL as well, and we can do some variations of whether to use the foam roller as a support there, whether to hold that tempo for a little bit longer, and then we're going to go into our Turkish get up, again just working through, okay, and we're now going to do a 3-second hold as we do the movement pattern as well, okay, and then finish off with our rotational crunch. So let's go back into working through our mountain climbers.
Push up first.
Yep, so we're going to go push up first into the mountain climbers, good, and coming back through, that's great stuff, and just working through, good, 8 repetitions. Yeah, and again the key thing is making sure that the back is straight, making sure that we're exploring that full range of motion through the shoulders as we're doing the movement pattern as well, and not allowing ourselves to sag through the hips as we're doing the movement there as well. Good job, okay. So now we're going to go into our lunge, okay, so just again our reverse lunge, Okay, keeping the arms facing forwards, good, and just working on that 3-second hold with that tempo as well there. Good. Great stuff. Okay, so Susan's doing really well there. She's keeping her trunk flexed forwards. She's just really working through the front quadriceps, so she's taking more of her body weight through the front of the leg there, but she's keeping the toes down on the ground to really activate that back glute as well when she's doing the movement pattern. She's also doing well at just keeping the knee over the toes. She's dropping down there as well and not allowing the knee to collapse inwards. Yeah, and then stabilising and controlling through that back leg as she's doing the movement there as well. Okay, she's looking forwards and she's not focused on looking down at the floor when she's doing the movement pattern there as well. Okay, so she's relying on sort of the muscles, the hips, the knees to give her that awareness of stability as opposed to using her eyes there as well. Good job. So now Susan's going to variation. She's going to go with the single leg RDL, and she's going to just be using the foam roller to give herself that support there as she comes back as well. Okay, so we're just going to drop down. Good, going to hold it for 3 seconds there, control the leg, good, and then come back up. Okay, and we're just going to now start to speed up how quickly we come back up, just to really sort of engage the glutes and the hamstring muscles as well. And Susan's just simply using that foam roller there for some support, okay, but still really focusing on sort of her stabilising through the hips, taking her body weight through her right standing leg as she's doing the movement there as well. She's also keeping her back really straight as she goes down into that position. Again, she's not rotating, twisting through the trunk at all. She's keeping the leg extended, the back, the spine as long as possible as she does the movement pattern as well. And she's really working on just that right knee, just keeping it slightly flexed as well, so she's not sort of extending through the knee, which could put more pressure on the knee joint itself. Okay. So again, this is just a variation that you could use at home as you're doing the movement pattern as well. There, as we said, we can sometimes use a small kettlebell or weight to add a bit more resistance, to add a bit more load. But the main focus is actually making sure that you're stable as you're doing the movement there as well. Good, and again, just keeping that back leg as straight as you can, not flexing through the knee as we do the exercise there. Good job. Okay, so now we're going to go back into the Turkish get-up. So simply we're going to be lying down on her back, okay, and from there we're going to be just working on just having the arm out to the side. And again, we're now going to start to really push up, okay, through the hips, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then come back down as well. That's great, okay? So coming up, really driving up, extending through the hips there, okay, 3-second hold just to build that contraction up. And then we're going to be coming back down. That's great. Okay. So key things are when we're doing the Turkish get-up. So it's a great exercise for the lower body. So we're really working on hip extension as we do the movement pattern there. Okay, we need to have quite good hip mobility. We need to. That's why at the start we work through our hip flexion stretch as well, just to really start to loosen up through the front of the hips to enable us to bring ourselves back and get that full hip extension. Okay. Also, it's great exercise for the upper body as well. You can see there that Susan's really having to stabilise through that shoulder as well. So again, you want to be careful if you've had sort of previous shoulder injuries before in the past. This can be quite an advanced exercise to work through. And also as well, you need to have good core and trunk stability as we're doing the movement pattern as well there. So not allowing yourself to sag, but also maintaining the trunk stability, not twisting through the trunk at all as we do the movement pattern there.
6.
Good job. And then, perfect, well done. Okay, so now we're going to go into the final round of the exercise. So just simply bringing the knees up, and we're going to go into our rotational crunches there as well. And again, so the knees, having the knees in this position just locks through the low back as we're doing the movement. Okay, and as you can see there that Susan's working her oblique sling as she's doing it very similar to the dead bug exercises we started off, okay? So we're now, well done guys, so we finished the main circuit through. We're now going to go through our activation exercises as well, our cool down exercises. So simply we're going to just start off with just working through just Susan being on her back. So, and this is really just going to be just loosening out through the low back as well. So she's going to have her knees bent up to 90, good feet off the ground, and then from there she's now going to have just both arms out to the side. She's now going to just turn the legs over towards this side here, dropping the legs down into that position there, okay? So from here what she's going to do now is bring the right hand across the body, good, keeping the legs down in that position, and then she's going to be from there now just opening out across the body. So just taking herself across the side there, great, holding that position, breathing out, really focus on exhaling, you're going to get more of a stretch through the movement, and then coming back in. Good, and we're just simply going to do 3 repetitions each side, okay? So we've been extending through the spine as we've been doing things like the Turkish get-ups. We need to make sure that we're really just loosening that area off. It's a good opportunity to improve stability or mobility through the thoracic spine as we're doing the movement there as well. And again, we're just working through simply 3 repetitions each side. Having the knees in this position is just simply locking out through the low back as well there. Good. And try and focus on the actual movement through the thoracic spine as opposed to the shoulder when we're doing the exercise there. So the next thing is we're going to take ourselves now into stretch for our upper body as well. So we're going to come back into our child's pose and work through just our lat stretch as well there. So just coming back. So just from here we're going to drop down, okay, and again from here we're going to just start to walk the hands forwards there. Okay, and again focus on our breathing as we're doing it. So as we exhale, we just start to walk those arms forwards there. So we're going to hold it for around 3 seconds before we start to walk the hands forwards still even more. Susan's going to make sure that she keeps her heels, buttock back on her heels as well there, and she's going to get some nice extension through the spine. She's extending quite nicely through the upper back as well, and then also through the lats as well there. Okay, so we're going to finish off from that position, coming up, and just working through an adductor stretch now as well. So she's going to take one leg out to the side there, and also we're going to do just 3 repetitions, just coming back and through. Good, so holding it there, good. Okay, and then coming forwards again. And she could even take that into a lat stretch as well, so just walking the hands forwards there as she comes back. Again, just engaging the upper body as well there. So good, and then once we've done our 3, we're going to then change and swap sides as well, just coming down through into that position there. Good. And then we'll flip the legs over and the final one, okay? So again, particularly sort of the lunge movements, the single leg RDL, we've really been working through the hamstrings, through the quadriceps, through the hips, so it's important that we focus on really loosening those muscles off as well there as we're doing the movement. Yeah. Okay guys, fantastic. Good. Okay, so well done Susan, fantastic, well done guys. Thank you very much for joining us. As I said, we've gone through another full body workout there. We've started with some activation exercises, mobility work. We've then gone into a main circuit, and then we've gone through a stretching program just to really calm and cool the system down, but improve muscle length as well. So we look forward to seeing you again on the Square One channel.